everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, I want to go over this article here called Grand Mufti of the Caucasus Visits the First Presidency. This is important. I've done a number of videos looking at all the times that President Nelson, the First Presidency, the Council of the 12, and so on, the Quorum of the 12, where they've met with world leaders, leaders of different faiths, leaders of different organizations and stuff like that. I think it's important. So, just generally speaking, if you haven't seen the other videos where I've covered this, I've thought about the concept that you remember that Joseph Smith had the Council of 50. Okay, he was trying to prepare for the political kingdom of God, trying to figure out, I guess, how to set up that government, drafting a constitution, and then also creating a flag, the flag of the kingdom of God that flies up on Ensign Peak in Salt Lake City. It was a very real effort, and I thought as I watched President Nelson meeting with all these people, I don't think that those plans just went away. I don't know if they kind of like went into storage, if they were tossed out and revamped, if it was something that they're like, okay, we'll just handle this in the future. I don't know officially what the church has done with those initial plans. I guess I could research that further, and I may someday. But that's kind of beside the point. I think that what we're seeing right now is President Nelson preparing church leadership, and the church itself for its important role during the millennium, specifically the first part of the millennium, when, as we read recently, the church is going to have control of the political kingdom of God on the earth. Under Christ, of course. Christ will be king. But the church will be operating the government in some kind of way. And so I've thought, well, it's probably really important that they establish as many relationships, build as many bridges as possible with a lot of these leaders that will also be on the other side of the second coming in the millennium, right? It's probably good for many different reasons, but one being that they'll know that the newly formed government is not like a intolerant government. You're still able to live your faith, and we are all about religious freedom. We want to show you that, and we want to be friends with you and have just a friendly approach. So let me read you something really interesting that Elder Rasband said. Okay, this was the October 2021 General Conference, the talk called Things of My Soul. He says, "For many years, we heard the prophet twice a year at General Conference, but with the complex issues of our day, President Nelson is speaking much more often in forums, social media, devotionals, and even press briefings. I've observed him preparing and presenting profound revelatory messages that have encouraged more gratitude, promoted greater inclusion of all of our brothers and sisters on earth, and increased peace, hope, joy, health, and healing in our individual lives." I think also, maybe it wasn't this talk, but I think someone else had said that he has met with different organizations and stuff. Anyway, the prophet is very active. He's talking to a lot of people. He's really putting himself out there. I've done a few videos, including this one, that's called President Russell M. Nelson, Lots of World Leaders, Political Kingdom of God, Council of 50 2.0. I'd encourage you to watch this if you haven't, because there's just a long, long list of leaders that he has met with. I think he's met with more people than any of his predecessors, which I would take to be a sign of the times, getting ready for the millennial reign. Now, I have a playlist about Islam. I think Islam is really important. Why? For a few reasons. They're an Abrahamic faith, okay? Even though they aren't descended through Israel, they're still part of the family of Abraham, and they have a special role to play in this world, and probably into the eternities. I don't think we know the full implications of all that, but they are part of Abraham's family. Number two, we looked up that. Oh gosh, I already forgot. I think a quarter of the Earth is Muslim. Let's see, what percent of the world is Muslim? I used to know this off the top of my head. Yeah, 24.1%. So almost a quarter of the world's population is Muslim. So when the second coming happens and the wicked are removed, okay, I would assume, and I could be wrong, but I would assume that the proportions of religions, like the percentages, will probably carry over and be about the same as what they are now. And so once we get to the other side of the second coming, and there's all these different barriers that are removed that currently prevent us from teaching the gospel, makes things, excuse me, makes it harder for us to preach the gospel. Well, maybe this is going to be a very key demographic, the Muslims. And I don't know, for all anybody knows, maybe they'll be very inclined to join the church when they see Christ come back. Um, I assume a lot of them would believe him when he says that he's Christ, that he is the Messiah, that he's not just a prophet, that he is what the Christians believed him to be. You know, especially when they see the Jews accepting him, maybe many of them will too. So, if during the millennium, 1 in 4 human beings on planet Earth are Muslim, well, yeah, I think they're going to be kind of important, right? I want to dig into their doctrine more. I have a hard copy of the Quran. I actually got it on my mission. I've never read it. I've been wanting to, and I feel an affinity toward Muslims. I really, really do. What I have learned, we do have a lot of things in common with them. We really, really do. So, anyway, I would encourage you to check out my playlist about Islam. I also want to remind you that the church has an interfaith relations portion of the website. This is under Gospel Library, Books and Lessons, and then Interfaith Relations. And Elder Bednar and Elder Gong, they did a special thing at BYU where they introduced this pamphlet called Muslims and Latter-day Saints, Beliefs, Values, and Lifestyles. And this would probably be something that'd be good for you to familiarize yourself with. And it just goes through different things: profession of faith in God, the posterity of Abraham, prophets, Jesus Christ, scriptures, prayer, and it contrasts and compares beliefs. Okay, areas where we're similar, areas where we're different. But this was kind of a big deal. And if I remember right, I think this was last year that this happened. Let me look at my 10 months ago. Yeah, so last year is when that happened. Um, and also, so the church has the interfaith relations portion of the website. They created the Muslim Latter-day Saint pamphlet. And I think this is to help us as Latter-day Saints not go along with the rest of Christianity, especially evangelical Christianity, where they kind of like don't look too kindly upon Islam. And because remember, there's a lot of people being displaced right now because of war, economic conditions. Many of them are coming into Europe, the United States. And instead of looking at it from a political point of view, look at it as an opportunity to include them, because they were formerly in a place where they couldn't receive the gospel. Now they're in a place where they can, or at least it's much more easy being in these Western countries. So it's probably pretty important for us to understand them, understand their beliefs, right? Um, Also, in the church newsroom, they have all these different topics that you can search. And one of them is interfaith relations. And I might dive into this even deeper to see if I missed anything. But it does seem like there's been a lot going on since President Nelson became prophet. But not just during his time, but it seems like it's kind of picked up and hastened. Okay. Um, they also have this interfaith relations playlist. as part of the church Newsroom YouTube channel, so you can check that out. And then lastly, on my phrase tracker, you'll notice that within the last few years, there's been an uptick in talking about Muslims and Arabs. Okay, you see right here. Whereas when you go back in time, hardly at all. You know, maybe a little bit with the Arabs in the 70s and 60s. There was a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East at that time, so maybe that's what they were talking about. I'm not sure. But with Muslim, the word Muslim, that's like barely even present at all. Just in 1976, a couple times in the beginning of the millennium, because of what happened, in that year. I got to be careful what I say. Um, but anyway, you can see very clearly that there's been an uptick in talking about them in general conference. I think that the time is drawing closer at hand where they're going to be more and more relevant. So, with that as context, let's go ahead and read some of this article. I haven't read it yet. I kind of skimmed through it a little bit, so this will be new to me. So, the Grand Mufti of the Caucasus visits the First Presidency. The Islamic leader praises the church's fraternal attitude toward Muslims. Now, I'm not a big fan of this word right here, because it has to do with a particular club of guys that like to do things in secret. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If it's to me, this word is a very secret combination-y word, but that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So what's a mufti or mufti? Mufti. Okay. Is an Islamic jurist qualified to issue a non-binding opinion on a point of Islamic law, Sharia. The act of issuing fatwas is called ifta. Muftis in their fatwas played an important role throughout Islamic history, taking on new roles in the modern era. Tracing its origins to the Quran in early Islamic communities, the practice of ifta crystallized with the emergence of the traditional legal theory in schools of Islamic jurisprudence, madhahib. So anyway, it's like a legal person for like religious law. And then Sheikh. This I feel like I've never really heard Mufti before, or Mufti. Sheikh, I've heard a lot more. Okay, so it says here, and by the way, it says you can say either Sheikh or Sheikh. I'm going to go with Sheikh. Okay, is an honorific title in the Arabic language. It commonly designates a chief of a tribe or a royal family member in Arabian countries. In some countries, it is also given to those of great knowledge in religious affairs as a surname by a prestige religious leader from a chain of Sufi scholars. It is also commonly used to refer to a Muslim religious scholar. Okay, so it could be a chief, could be a royal person, could be a Muslim scholar. So it's just like a, kind of a catch-all. Like this person is high up there in some kind of way. All right. The spiritual leader of Muslims in the Caucasus has concluded a 4-day visit to the headquarters of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Where are the Caucasus? I forgot. I had pulled this up right here between the Caspian and the Black Sea. So this area. And I think specifically, if I remember right from the article, this guy is from Azerbaijan or Azerbaijan. Okay. While in Salt Lake City, Haji Allah Shukur Hamad Pashade Sheikh ul Islam and Grand Mufti of the Caucasus met with the First Presidency and elders David A. Bednar and Ronald A. Rasband of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. He also made stops at Welfare Square, the Conference Center, Brigham Young University, the Utah State Capitol, and local Jewish and Muslim communities. Okay, here's a bunch of pictures. Let's just take a quick look. Um, President Nelson welcomes Haji Allah Shukur Hamad Pashadi Sheikh ul Islam and Grand Mufti of the Caucasus to the Church Administration Building on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. President Nelson gives a Russian Book of Mormon. Okay. President Nelson speaks with, I'm just going to call him Haji, and Grand Mufti on the Caucasus to the Church Administration Building. Okay. Listen to President Nelson. Okay, group photo right here. So who do we got? Sahib Navruz Oglu Nagiyev, Deputy Chairman of the State Committee on Religious Associations of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Khazar Ibrahim, Ambassador of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Okay, so look at that. The ambassador is there to the United States. President Nelson. Da, 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 da. Buck. Okay, so important people. President Nelson receives a painting as a gift from Haji Allah Shukur. Okay, Haji, and in the church administration building on Wednesday. The painting depicts fruits, a tapestry, and metalware representative of a traditional home in Azerbaijan. Okay, so it's a little piece of Azerbaijan for President Nelson. Okay. Elder David A. Bednar of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles greets Vladimir Fekiti, apostolic prefect of the Catholic Church in Azerbaijan, at the Joseph Smith Memorial Building on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. Okay, so the Catholics are there too. Receives a gift. It doesn't say what it is, though. Okay, more group pictures. More of this. Bread. Is showing a fresh loaf of bread at Welfare Square. It's interesting because, yeah, like whenever, it seems like this is like a typical thing that the church will do, like when they're meeting with President Nelson, the First Presidency, the Quorum of the 12. A lot of times they'll take these dignitaries and stuff and show them Welfare Square. Trump was there, actually. I covered that in this video right here. At least I think it's in that video. Okay, Welfare Square. Let's see. BYU campus, diorama. Talking to a class of students. Okay, and that's it for that. Okay, cool. I feel that the Church of Jesus Christ demonstrated a fraternal attitude toward us Muslims, Sheikh ul Islam said through an interpreter in an interview Friday morning at the Grand America Hotel, just a few blocks south of Temple Square. Quote, "This is what the Almighty ordered to all of us, all humankind, and we do the same. I wish for all over the world, to follow this right path, this path of God." End quote. The Grand Mufti first met Elder Rasband and other church leaders in September 2021 at the G20 Interfaith Forum in Italy. "Hello, my old friend," said Elder Rasband upon reuniting with the Muslim leader and his delegation in Salt Lake City on Wednesday, March 3rd, 2023. Elder Rasband said, "I'm especially grateful to meet you wonderful brothers and sisters from Azerbaijan. I want you to know we will be your friends." Elders Gary E. Stevenson and Ulysses Soares have also met the Grand Mufti. Elder Jack and Gerard of the 70, who visited Sheikh ul Islam in Baku, Azerbaijan in late 2022, said church leaders were honored that the great Mufti and his delegation would come to the United States to see a variety of leaders, but specifically to come see the First Presidency of the church. It's really interesting. Like, if I was the Grand Mufti, Why would I want to meet with the leaders of this church? You don't just spend money to travel to do something like that. Um, that's something I don't know. If you could illuminate me, if you have knowledge of these things, let me know. What is the benefit, the purpose? Why? So if it's just like to build bridges, why? You know, it's nice to be friends with people, but can't you just be friends from a distance? Like, I don't know. That's one thing I don't really understand. If they were, it says here that they're meeting with a variety of leaders, which kind of implies that they aren't just here to see um, the church, the first presidency. So, how did the first presidency and the church make their list? That's what I want to know. And for all of them, Sheikh ul Islam was joined in his visit to Utah by a delegation of more than a dozen Azerbaijani government, civic, and religious leaders. Among them was Khazar Ibrahim, ambassador of the Republic of Azerbaijan to the United States of America. Ibrahim praised the church's openness to other faiths. Quote, crystal clear is tolerance, tolerance, tolerance. The church embraces every faith. We should not only develop tolerance and inclusiveness, we should also show others, and we should be more vocal and more active in helping others follow this path, which is the only path for the harmony of the world. End quote. Sahib Novruz Oglu Nagiev, Azerbaijan's deputy chair of the State Committee on Religious Associations, said he was inspired by his visit to Welfare Square and the help offered to the people in need of all faiths. Quote, we, in our turn, now will think about this example and model and try to practice it in Azerbaijan, he said through an interpreter. The Grand Mufti said his impressions from visits with the first presidency and other church leaders are, quote, very, very positive. Okay, that's good. That's what we want. Very, very positive. The meetings with church leaders took place in the church administration building, which features wood imported from the Caucasus and other areas. Oh, as in like the building itself is made of wood from the Caucasus. Um, quote, that was very impressive and meaningful for me, the Grand Mufti said. I wish I had visited Utah before. From the very first minute, I felt that warm hospitality. That's good. Sheikh ul Islam said he conveyed greetings to the first presidency from Azerbaijan's president and people. In response, he said the first presidency asked him to convey their greetings and best regards to Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev. The Muslim leader asked the first presidency to pray for Azerbaijan. He said he was moved to hear church prophet and President Russell M. Nelson promise to honor that request. That's kind of interesting. Gonna highlight that. The sheikh who has been a Muslim leader for 44 years said he was also inspired on Wednesday by the organ music he heard in the conference center. See, there's that thing where music is used to it can have an impact on people. It can even induce religious experiences, um, feeling the spirit. And some people, I've heard it on this channel from some of you, that some people join the church after having contact with the Tabernacle Choir or some other, the church the Temple Square Orchestra or whatever. Um, so that's interesting. Okay, he says, I love organ music. I used to listen to organ music at every chance. Really? I had the chance in Salt Lake City too, and believe me, I felt my soul raise high when I was listening to that music. Wow. So he's a organ music aficionado. What's an aficionado? Am I using that right? Aficionado? Aficionado? A person who is very knowledgeable and enthusiastic about an activity, subject, or pastime. Yeah, yeah. So he's a aficionado, whatever. Um, and then he says, "I wish the first presidency and the elders longevity and blessings from the Almighty to let them serve people in their state as long as possible. I am positive our relations will have very impressive and good results because it is the will of the Almighty." So that's good. It leaves me with a good feeling, and that's really good. I love connecting with other faiths, letting them know that we're not hostile, that we're not intolerant, and it's nice to have that reciprocated, having just mutual respect. And that's what I'm trying to do on my channel. Um, you should probably already know, but on my playlist called Special Guests, I've so far I've mostly spoken to Jews, mostly. So here's Rabbi Pepperstone, and then we have Eli Michel. He's an Israeli Jew. He was actually a rabbi when he was here in the States, but when he went to Israel, it doesn't seem like he is a rabbi anymore or considers himself a rabbi. I'm not sure. I think it's kind of like not something he's currently doing. Talked to Samantha Siegel. She's in Israel. She's Jewish. She's the one that first noticed fresh fish getting really, really close to the Dead Sea. Who else have we talked to from other faiths? Um, oh, it's up here. Linda from Community of Christ. She was the former president of the Council of the 12 Apostles. So, spoken with the Community of Christ. Who else do we got? Um, we have him. I already forgot his name. I think his name is Natan, but he describes himself as a Levite Nazarite. Rabbi Pepperstone basically said that there's not really any such thing. And admittedly, he kind of said that he is doing his own thing, but he lives in Israel. He's a Jew. Talked to Dr. Henry Abramson. He's Jewish. He's like a Jewish. He's like a professor and a scholar, basically. It was a really interesting interview. Talked to Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz. That's the first time I've spoken to a Jewish person on this channel. And oh yeah, I did an interview with Brian Christine. He has a YouTube channel. He's like a more of like an evangelical type person, but he's a Christian. Is there anybody else? No. That's basically it. That's basically it. So I want to like expand that. That's why I did that one live stream. I wanted to get suggestions for interviews with people outside of our faith. I got a lot of recommendations for people, other YouTubers or people within our faith, and that's great. And I may just go ahead and do that, but I'm more interested in connecting with people from other faiths, just to, in my own way, kind of further that mission of building bridges, possibly planting seeds. This is a great way to just promote the church, or like get the church out there so other people know about it. Um, it may make a difference once we get to the millennium, and maybe they'll remember the conversations that they've had with me and felt good, about our church by just like letting them know that we love them and that we appreciate them. So I'm going to try and reach out to more people. I want to talk to some Muslims, frankly. I want to do more about Islam, because I guarantee we could find some pretty good nuggets if we studied Islam, because the Lord works with all people, and especially them being an Abrahamic faith. I guarantee that they probably have some really interesting insights. They do believe that Jesus is going to come again. They see him as a prophet, not a Messiah. But uh, that's one thing that we share in common. It's interesting that they believe that Jesus is going to come again, and I'd like to kind of like flesh that out and understand how they see things happening, and just anything else that I can get. So All right, well, that's going to be it for this one. Interesting things are happening in the church. Things are hastening, and you can feel it, and you can tell. Again, in the meantime, I would encourage you to keep sharing the Book of Mormon. Do it any way that you want to, but easiest way is just through the Gospel Library app. Go to Scriptures, click on the share button at the top of the screen. We are at 4,429 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared, a total of 370 people that have shared. So please make this number go up. Please join and encourage others to do so. And we'll see how far this thing can go. So we're close to 400. And then with this, we're getting close to 4,500. But hopefully we can get to 5,000 and beyond. I'm not going to stop doing this challenge probably until I'm dead. So anyway, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.